Hey everyone, welcome to the screencast presentation of our unit plan on America's participation in World War II. We'll begin by going over the unit summary. In this unit, you will learn about the participation of the United States in World War II. You will discuss what led America to join the war, as well as research whether or not it was inevitable. The bombing of Pearl Harbor will be analyzed. You will learn about the American home front and how different groups of people experience World War II. After discussing the different parts of the war, you will be able to answer the driving questions and formulate your own opinions about the war. The California content standards we'll be using during our unit plan are as follows. First, we're going to examine the origins of the American involvement in the war, with an emphasis on the events that precipitated the attack on Pearl Harbor. Second, discuss the constitutional issues and impacts of the events on the U.S. home front, including the internment of Japanese Americans, for example, Fred Korematsu versus the United States of America, and the restriction on German and Italian resident aliens. The response of the administration to Hitler's atrocities against Jews and other groups, the roles of women in military production, and the roles in growing political demands of African Americans. And last, discuss the decision to drop atomic bombs and the consequences on the decision in retrospect to both Hiroshima and Nagasaki. Also on the left-hand side of the page, you can see the Common Core standards that we'll also be following. I'll just briefly go into a couple of these. For example, we'll be analyzing a complex set of ideas or sequence of events to explain how specific individuals, ideas, or events interact and develop over the course of a text. We'll be writing arguments to support claims in an analysis of substantive topics or texts using valid reasoning and relevant sufficient evidence. The big ideas we will be addressing in the unit plan are as follows. Why was Pearl Harbor attacked? What were the constitutional issues and impacts of the events on the U.S. home front? And what led to the decision to drop atomic bombs during World War II? The essential questions are as follows. Was war between the United States and Japan inevitable? What events led to the attack on Pearl Harbor? Was the internment of Japanese Americans during World War II a necessity or a tragedy? What were the constitutional issues and impacts of the events on the U.S. home front? Was dropping atomic bombs necessary during the war? The learning objectives for this unit plan are as follows. Students will be able to identify 3 events that led to the attack on Pearl Harbor. Second, students will be able to research and create a thinking map based on the events happening on the U.S. home front involving Americans. And last, students will be able to create a concept map of the dropping of the atomic bombs on Hiroshima and Nagasaki and present it to a small group. Students will be assessed on the unit plan in the following ways. First, entry-level assessment will be creating a thinking map, brainstorming, and finding out what students already know about World War II. Next will be the formative assessment, where students will be taking a quiz on the events that took place in Pearl Harbor, followed by they will need to write a paragraph explaining the internment of Japanese Americans on whether they believe it was a necessity or a tragedy. Third, they're going to create their own thinking map consisting of at least 5 events happening on the home front and during World War II. And last, they will be creating a timeline of the diagram of the events to the end of World War II. Lastly, the summative assessment will be based on the students writing an essay consisting of about 5 paragraphs based on was the war in the United States and Japan inevitable, and you'll need to be using the evidence from your Quizlet to support your opinion. And lastly, you will do a presentation in groups based on what you've all learned about the United States involvement in World War II itself. For Lesson 1 of the unit plan, the students will be able to identify at least 3 events that took place or led to the attack on Pearl Harbor. Acceptable evidence for this will be the note-taking guide. The lesson's activities will consist of the teacher explicitly teaching the events that led to the attack on Pearl Harbor, students watching a video, World War II, the United States gets involved in taking notes in their note-taking guides. In groups of 4, students will identify at least 3 events that they believe the most important and discuss whether or not the war between the U.S. and Japan was inevitable. And last, students will write on their note pages the 3 events and how they led to the attack on Pearl Harbor. Lesson 2 the students will be able to research and take notes about different aspects of World War II by completing a Weber size. Students will work in groups, and to complete the Weber size, they will share their findings with the class. Activities are as follows. The students will follow the websites in order to answer the questions related to the Weber size. They will read the text and watch videos from the different websites to answer the questions in their notes. And in groups of 4, the students will share with the class what they have learned in their Weber size exercise. For Lesson 3, students will be creating a graphic organizer using Poplet. They're going to describe the causes leading up to the dropping of the atomic bombs on Hiroshima and Nagasaki and the effects on that decision, or the aftermath. Students will create a concept map of the events that led to the atomic bomb attacks on Hiroshima and Nagasaki. They will do this after reading the articles, texts, and websites in the groups of 4. They will need to identify the 2 cities targeted for dropping the atomic bombs, explain why the cities were targeted, describe 2 events that led to the dropping of the bombs, include the dates the atomic bombs were dropped, describe the aftermath of the 2 cities, and include a minimum of 2 videos and 4 pictures in your maps. Here's an example of the Poplet that I have created. The lesson activities for Lesson 3 are as follows. The teacher will explicitly teach the events of the dropping of the atomic bomb on Hiroshima and Nagasaki and how they impacted World War II. Students will create a concept map or graphic organizer using Poplet to create a map of the events that led to the atomic bomb attacks, and students will present their Poplet to their group of 4. Here at the bottom of the page is the rubric for grading the graphic organizer. Your graphic organizer is going to be based on 5 different categories. First, arrangement of concepts. Second, mechanics. Third, content. Fourth, text. And lastly, design. They will be rated from either 1 point for unsatisfactory, 2 for average, or 3 for excellent, leaving the possible top score of 15 points. Here on the resource page, you will find the websites and other resources you will need to complete this assignment. Some of the websites I have included are history.com, showing you a video that introduces the bombing of Pearl Harbor, cbsnews.com, with information regarding the bombing of Hiroshima, Women on the Home Front from World War II. This website discusses the role of women on the home front during World War II. There's also a website on Quizlet to help enhance your knowledge. I also have a website giving an overview of the events on World War II, and there are mind maps that you can use to your benefit. Next are the resources in relation to videos. First, I have a YouTube video on the causes and the stages in the aftermath of World War II. There's a short video on the attack on Pearl Harbor. We also have a YouTube video on Hiroshima and Nagasaki attacks. And then lastly, there's a video discussing food rationing during World War II as well. Good luck to everyone on the assignment, and I look forward to seeing your results. Thank you.